Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Before we get started, let me clarify what we're diving into today. This video is all about the things we learned about the Harry Potter story after the series ended. Little tidbits of info that Rowling shared outside of the books. These are the hidden nuggets of lore you'd only know if you kept up with interviews, Pottermore updates, or extended publications. Things like, the fact that Rowling very seriously considered killing off Ron Weasley. This video is not about what happens to the wizarding world or its characters after Voldemort's defeat. That's a whole different topic which I've covered extensively in the past. If you want to know about that kind of thing, check out my other videos. Without further ado, let's dive into some of the most fascinating things we've learned about the Harry Potter series after it ended. Minerva's marriage. For some of you, it may be difficult to imagine a school-age McGonagall, but the truth is that even she was once a student at Hogwarts, and after finishing her studies, her future looked bright. She had continually impressed her professors and peers while attending the school, and upon graduation, she was offered a position at the Department of Magical Law Enforcement in the Ministry of Magic. However, before starting in her new role, she returned to her parents' home for the summer to spend time with her family. And it was during this summer that McGonagall first met Dougal McGregor, a clever, handsome Muggle farmer who lived in the same town. The two instantly hit it off, sharing common interests, a sense of humour, and just an overall outlook on life. The pair got along so well, in fact, that McGregor eventually proposed to McGonagall. Without hesitation, McGonagall accepted his offer, but as some time passed, she began to truly consider the implications of marrying Dougal. You see, similar to the situation with her parents, McGonagall had failed to inform Dougal that she was in fact a witch. This was the exact mistake that her mother had made with her father, and McGonagall saw firsthand the impact that this had on their family. Therefore, McGonagall realised that marrying Dougal was not the right thing to do, and needed to break things off. But the worst part of it all was that McGonagall could not even give him the real reason why. 3 days after accepting his initial proposal, she met with Dougal and informed him of her revised decision. She told him that she could not marry him, and left the village shortly after in pursuit of her new career. Though she was starting an exciting new position at the Ministry of Magic, this was one of the hardest periods of her life. Dougal, unable to accept that McGonagall would leave so easily, fought for her, and sent McGonagall letters for a long time, hoping to win her back. However, McGonagall knew that she could never be with Dougal. She saw how destructive her mother's situation had been on her family, and it just wasn't an option for her. Dougal, however, did hold a very special place in McGonagall's heart for the rest of her life, and she kept Dougal's letters under her bed. Years later, when she returned home to take on a role at Hogwarts, she was devastated to hear that her former love interest, Dougal McGregor, had gotten married with another local. Knowing that she turned him away without ever giving him a proper explanation, she wallowed in her sorrow and knew that she would have to accept how things had turned out. In Short Stories from Hogwarts of Heroism, Hardship and Dangerous Hobbies, a trio of ebooks published by Pottermore, it's actually revealed that McGregor was eventually randomly murdered by Death Eaters during the 1970s, amidst the First Wizarding War. Later in life, McGonagall felt additional guilt for leaving Dougal, as she wondered if he would have survived had they gotten married. Dumbledore could see Harry in the invisibility cloak. The invisibility cloak is a powerful magical artifact that once belonged to Ignotus Pavril, the youngest brother from the Tale of Three Brothers, a story outlining the origin of each Deathly Hallow. And this object becomes massively instrumental in the Harry Potter story, as it ended up being the most useful Hallow for Harry, who was anonymously gifted the cloak by Dumbledore in the Philosopher's Stone. Among other things, he uses it to sneak into the restricted section, to visit the Mirror of Erised, and to lurk around Hogwarts. The cloak renders the wearer completely invisible to both the naked eye and most magical means of detection. And unlike other invisibility cloaks, which aren't as effective and degrade over time, Harry's cloak offers perfect concealment. Or does it? J.K. Rowling later revealed in a 2001 online live chat hosted by Scholastic that Dumbledore could see through Harry's invisibility cloak the entire time. Rowling confirmed that Dumbledore had the unique ability to sense Harry's presence, likely due to his deep magical knowledge and powerful skills, and would then enlist the help of a human presence revealing spell with non-verbal magic. Rowling's regrets. Depending on if you're primarily a book fan or primarily a movie fan, you're going to have a different opinion on this matter. And if there's one side of things you haven't explored yet, haven't read the books or watched the films, you're probably going to have an even stronger opinion on this. And what is this contentious topic, you might ask? Well, it's the idea that Harry should have been with Hermione. It took her a long time, but in 2014, J.K. Rowling revealed during an interview with Emma Watson for Wonderland magazine that she had second thoughts about pairing Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley together. Unsurprisingly, this admission sparked some pretty widespread debate among fans, as Ron and Hermione's relationship was, and is for many, a significant and beloved part of the Harry Potter series. Rowling mentioned that she had written the pairing as a form of wish fulfillment, and not because they were actually the most compatible couple. She even went on to suggest that their personalities might lead to conflicts over time, and that they might need counselling to succeed. She then went on to hint that Hermione might have actually been better suited for Harry, noting that their deep friendship, mutual respect, and compatibility might have made for a stronger romantic connection. However, she avoided this pairing during the writing process to subvert expectations and steer clear of the cliché where the hero ends up with the heroine. But here's what I think. Your opinion is really going to depend on which format you subscribe to. In the Harry Potter films, both Hermione and Harry are made into near-perfect versions of themselves, whereas Ron is portrayed as a goofy, buffoon version of his book character. For Harry, the films seem to have removed his wittier, more rebellious side, turning him into a hero with minimal flaws. In the case of Hermione and Ron, the writers simply seem to have taken away a lot of Ron's lines and important moments and given them to Hermione, degrading his character and enhancing hers. While in the books, yes, Hermione was very intelligent when it came to book learning, it was actually Ron who was the source of information on how the wizarding world worked. This made great sense since Ron, a pure-blood wizard born into a magical family, had lived in this world his entire life. Hermione, on the other hand, was a muggle-born witch who had no idea that the wizarding world even existed until she received her letter of acceptance from Hogwarts. I don't believe Hermione should have been with Harry in the novels. In fact, in the book series, Hermione and Ron are, well, actually near perfect for one another. They support one another when it counts and challenge each other in areas in which the other has shortcomings. Plus, Ron's a lot smarter in the books than he is in the films, so he really does keep up with Hermione's intelligence and actually rather balances her book smarts with his quick wit, humour and valour. But in the movies, this is very clearly not the case, and she really does appear much better suited to Harry. Despite Rowling's personal reflections, however, Ron and Hermione's relationship remains canon. In the epilogue of Deathly Hallows, the two are shown as happily married with 2 children, with their relationship portrayed as lasting and loving. The Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone is both the namesake for the original book and film, as well as a prominent magical artifact with a multitude of impressive properties. Described as a ruby red stone that is an alchemical substance, this object is the source of the elixir of life, which can make any witch or wizard who drinks it immortal. The elixir also has the ability to turn any metal into gold. The only known stone of this kind in wizarding history was created by Nicolas Flamel, a celebrated alchemist and friend of Albus Dumbledore. But what many of you may not have known about the Philosopher's Stone is that it has its own alchemical symbol, and it looks awfully familiar. J.K. Rowling later revealed that the Deathly Hallows symbol, an iconic symbol representing the Elder Wand, Resurrection Stone, and Invisibility Cloak all joined together, was deliberately designed to resemble the alchemical symbol for the Philosopher's Stone. The resemblance is significant because the Philosopher's Stone also embodies the pursuit of immortality and humanity's struggle with mortality, much like the Hallows. We know that Rowling has drawn inspiration from a variety of sources across mythology, folklore, literature, and history, so this isn't too surprising, but I am a little shocked at just how similar these two symbols are. The first line. As it turns out, the very first line of the very first Harry Potter book never made the final cut. In a 2024 interview with the Sunday Times, J.K. Rowling revealed that the original opening line of the Harry Potter series was, "The Potter family lived in Dark's Hollow." But of course the name is later changed to Godric's Hollow, the main reason for which was to honour Godric Gryffindor, one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts. But one question does remain. What is the significance of Dark's Hollow? Nagini. The Nagini that we know from the Harry Potter films was first introduced in The Goblet of Fire, where she is described as eating the body of Muggle Frank Bryce after his brutal murder. And from as far back as we can remember, she is glued to Voldemort's side, a trustworthy and loyal companion through seemingly any kind of adversity. When Voldemort was weak and just a shadow of the powerful man that he usually was, she was still there right by him, and this truly speaks to the bond that Voldemort and Nagini had. However, the Nagini that we know from the Harry Potter franchise is not expanded upon much in the original series, and it's not until Fantastic Beasts came out that we got a little bit more of her history. Nagini was born around 1900 with an inherited blood-borne curse known as the Maledictus Curse. This curse meant that she was destined to permanently transform into an animal, in her case a snake. Earlier in her life, she could switch between human and snake forms, but this ability diminished over time. Before transforming into a snake permanently and eventually becoming a Horcrux, Nagini was a shy, quiet, kind woman who was unfortunately mistreated by the Circus Arcanus. Circus Arcanus was a traveling wizarding circus owned by a man named Skender. It was essentially considered to be a freak show and boasted the world's most complete congress of human oddities. Nagini was put on display and forced to show the world what a freak she was, when in reality she was just a poor woman that suffered from an awful curse. Skender was incredibly cruel and exploited Nagini, forcing her to perform for his show day in and day out, and she was stuck there for a long time until Credence Barebone helped her escape. We don't actually know much about what Nagini got up to between the events of Fantastic Beasts and the Harry Potter films. What we do know, however, is that Nagini and Voldemort are thought to have met in the 1980s in the forests of Albania. During this time, Voldemort was fresh off of a defeat at the hands of Lily's loving sacrifice, and I strongly suspect that Nagini was likely trapped in her snake form. Given that Voldemort spoke Parseltongue, the language of snakes, this was what likely helped establish the foundation for their relationship. The seer who never was. If you've never heard of Mopsus, then it's probably because he was cut from the books entirely. Mopsus was a character J.K. Rowling initially conceived for the Philosopher's Stone as an expert in divination. Named after a figure in Greek mythology renowned for his prophetic powers, he was envisioned as a blind seer with the ability to accurately predict the future. This character would have introduced a highly skilled and reliable divination expert, which contrasts quite sharply with the questionable talents of Professor Sybil Trelawney, who was of course portrayed as eccentric and often dubious in her predictions. Whether the introduction of Mopsus would have replaced Trelawney is another question altogether. However, Rowling decided to cut Mopsus early in the development of the first book, citing concerns that the character's inclusion would have overly complicated the plot. She explained that Mopsus's ability to foresee the future with precision would have undermined the drama and suspense of the story. By providing too much clarity about future events, Mopsus could have resolved mysteries too quickly and diminished the stakes for Harry and his friends. Makes sense to me. And that's it for this video. Which of these things had you heard about before? Which were new? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.